If you've never dealt with the bail bond system before, you probably have questions. Everyone does. And the problem is not just the situation itself. It's that most of the information people find online is either incomplete, outdated, or written in a way that skips over the parts that actually matter when you're in the middle of it. Some explanations are too simplified. Others are written to push you toward a decision without really helping you understand what's happening. And when you're dealing with something like this, timing matters. Decisions matter. And confusion slows everything down. So instead of guessing, this is a straight breakdown. These are the 10 questions bail bondsmen hear every single day, explained clearly, so you understand how the system actually works before you make a move. Question 1. Here's the first thing most people misunderstand about bail. They assume they have to come up with the full amount the court sets. That's usually not the case. In Texas, a bail bond typically costs 10% of the total bail amount. That's the industry standard. So if bail is set at $10,000, you're looking at $1,000. If it's $50,000, you're looking at $5,000. That part is straightforward. But here's where people get caught off guard. That 10% is not refundable. It doesn't matter how the case ends. It doesn't matter if charges are dropped or reduced. That fee is the cost of the service. What you're paying for is the bondsman taking on the risk of the full bail amount. Now, depending on the situation, you may not need the entire 10% up front. Many companies offer payment plans and, in some cases, collateral like a vehicle title or property may be required. But the structure stays consistent. If you don't understand this up front, it's easy to make the wrong financial decision. Question 2. Here's where expectations usually don't match reality. Most people think that once bail is posted, release happens right away. It doesn't work like that. In a larger facility like the El Paso County Detention Center, once the bond is posted, the release process typically takes 1 to 4 hours. That's under normal conditions. But conditions aren't always normal. If it's a weekend, a holiday, or a high-volume night, processing times can increase. There are more people being booked, more paperwork moving, and more strain on staff. Now take that same situation into a smaller county across West Texas. Staffing is more limited. In some cases, one officer is handling intake, release, and everything in between. So what takes 2 hours in a larger county can take 4 to 6 hours, sometimes longer. Here's the part most people don't realize. The biggest delay usually happens before the bond is even posted. If you get a bondsman involved early, paperwork can be prepared ahead of time. That's what actually reduces total wait time. Question 3. This is one of the biggest misconceptions people have walking into this process. No, you do not get your money back when you use a bail bond company. The 10% premium is a service fee. It is not being held. It is not refundable. What you are paying for is the bondsman assuming the risk of the full bail amount and making release possible without you paying everything up front. Now here's where confusion happens. If you pay the full bail amount directly to the court, that money can be refunded once the case is resolved and all conditions are met. But that means paying the full amount up front, which for most people is not practical. There's also collateral. If collateral is used with a bail bond company, it is returned after the case reaches final disposition, assuming everything was handled correctly. That process usually takes a few weeks. The key is knowing the difference before you commit, not after. Question 4. Here's something that sounds simple on the surface, but in reality, it's where a lot of delays happen. Yes, bail can be posted at any time of day. Jails operate 24 hours. Arrests don't stop. The system itself is always running, But the system is only one part of the equation. The other part is the bail bond company, and not every company operates the way they claim to. So the real question isn't whether bail can be posted at 3 in the morning. The real question is whether someone actually answers when you call at 3 in the morning. A true 24/7 operation means a live person answers the phone, gathers your information, and starts the paperwork immediately. Not a voicemail, not a delayed response, not a situation where you're waiting hours just to get started. Because here's what happens. Every hour you lose at the beginning of the process adds to the total time your loved one stays in custody. And that's a delay most people don't realize they're creating. Question 5. This is where the situation shifts from simple to serious. If someone you bailed out skips court, things escalate quickly. The judge issues a bench warrant for their arrest, and the court begins the bond forfeiture process. At that point, the bail bond company is responsible for the full bail amount, not the 10%, the full amount. So if the bail was $20,000, that's the exposure. From there, the company will attempt to locate the defendant and bring them back into compliance. Under Texas law, licensed bail bond agents have the authority to apprehend someone who has violated their bond conditions. If the defendant is returned within a certain period, the situation can be resolved. If not, the forfeiture becomes final. And that's when the financial responsibility can shift to the cosigner. That can involve collateral being seized or legal recovery actions. This is why cosigning is a financial decision, not just a favor. Question 6. A lot of confusion comes from how these terms are used in conversation. People say bail and bond like they mean the same thing. They don't. Bail is the amount set by the court. It's the number assigned as a condition of release. A bond is the method used to satisfy that amount. There are 3 primary types in Texas. A cash bond means you pay the full amount directly to the court. A surety bond means a bail bond company posts the full amount on your behalf, and you pay a percentage. A personal recognizance bond means release without upfront payment, but with conditions attached. Each option has different financial and legal implications. Once you understand the difference, the rest of the process becomes much easier to follow. Question 7. This is something people don't think about until they're already in the middle of it. Once you co-sign a bail bond, you can't just remove yourself from the agreement. The contract you signed is legally binding. It stays in place until the bond is resolved. Now, there are a few ways out, but none of them are as simple as making a phone call. You can request that the defendant be surrendered back into custody. That ends your financial obligation. You may be able to replace yourself with another qualified cosigner, but that depends on approval and isn't common. Or you wait until the case reaches its conclusion. Here's the key point. If you have concerns about compliance, addressing them early matters. Waiting limits your options more than anything else. Question 8. APR bond sounds like the best case scenario at first. No upfront payment, no immediate financial hit. But calling it free is misleading, because what replaces the cost is control. PR bonds come with conditions that must be followed while the case is pending. That can include regular check-ins, drug or alcohol testing, travel restrictions, and, in some cases, electronic monitoring. Depending on the level of supervision, those requirements can be minimal or very strict. There's also financial accountability. Even though no money is paid up front, the defendant can still be held responsible for the full bail amount if they violate the terms. It removes upfront cost, but it doesn't remove consequences. Question 9. A lot of people want to know how the actual process works when it comes to meeting a bondsman. In most cases, A bail bondsman or their agent will meet you at the jail, courthouse, or another agreed location. That's standard. But there's another factor that plays a bigger role than people expect: location. In West Texas, distances between counties can be significant. A bondsman who is local to the county can respond faster, handle paperwork faster, and post the bond faster. Someone operating from far away introduces delays that you can't control. That difference can mean hours. And in this situation, hours matter more than anything. Question 10. This is one of the most important questions you can ask before you commit to anything. How do you know if a bail bond company is legitimate? In Texas, every bail bond company must be licensed. That's the baseline. But beyond that, there are clear indicators of whether you're dealing with a legitimate operation: a real office, a working phone number, clear explanations before you sign anything, and documentation that outlines exactly what you're agreeing to. There are also clear red flags: requests for payment through gift cards or crypto, pressure to sign quickly, guarantees about outcomes, or pricing that doesn't match the standard structure. A legitimate company explains everything up front, not after the fact. Those are the 10 questions most families have when they first deal with the bail system. And once you understand these, the process becomes predictable. It's still stressful. It still moves on its own timeline. But it's no longer confusing, and that changes how you handle it. Freedom Bail Bonds has been helping families across West Texas since 1985. Available 24 hours a day. 915-877-9293.